Hi, welcome to this edition of Florida's Event Heroes, sponsored by the Florida Festivals and Events Association. I am Laura Ridas, Special Events and Talent Coordinator for the City of West Palm Beach, and with me today is Laura Simon, Executive Director of the Delray Beach Downtown Development Authority, otherwise known as the DDA. Laura joined the organization in 2010 and in the process has created award-winning marketing campaigns and events that consistently drive positive economic growth throughout the downtown community. As a native of Delray Beach, as well as a tourism management professional, Laura's enthusiasm, passion for promoting this unique destination is contagious as well as impactful. She has brought a unique hospitality perspective to the strategic planning and development of the DDA in her hometown. Most recently, Laura led the Reopen Task Force through the COVID-19 pandemic in collaboration with the city, CRA, and Chamber of Commerce. A little bit about the DDA. Their mission is to stimulate, enhance, and sustain the economic vitality of downtown Delray Beach and the quality of life enjoyed by locals and visitors. As an autonomous agency of the city, the DDA advocates, facilitates, plans, and executes business development, fosters business relations, helps with the planning capital improvements, and markets the downtown district. Laura, welcome.
Thank you. That is a mouthful. I'm really happy to be here. But thank you very much. We're excited, the Downtown Delray Beach DDA, just to be a part of this reopen time and bringing events back to our community as we move into this new phase of our 2021 year. So just really happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. We are happy to have you, and let's find out why you are this week's Florida Event Hero. My partner in this series, Kristen Hicks from the Riviera Beach CRA, and I have been starting these interviews stating how blessed we feel to live in Florida, where events were able to start back up again much sooner than other parts of the country during the pandemic. Do you feel that being based in Florida helped the Reopen Task Force accomplish their event goals faster than some of your counterparts in other areas?
Yes, I do. I think it helped, especially in Delray Beach, for us as an organization and in partnership with our city partners and mostly our community to really, as we stayed active throughout the entire pandemic, looking at from our organization of how we can, pivot and change things and reinvent events, because they are such a huge part of keeping people engaged and keeping people informed, as well as embracing and really bridging that gap during a time that really we needed it to bridge the collaboration amongst and the really owning the ownership of the city. So keeping them invested, keeping them happy. And I think for us in South Florida, it was a little bit slower as an open as a time as the rest of the state. However, being such close connection to our stakeholders in the downtown and having a downtown like Delray Beach that is open, right, abutting the beach with our main street, and having that ability to utilize the open space that we have to be creative and create events in a way that really fit with this new way of life as we all walked through it and continue to do that. So it was really fortunate for us, especially due to our great weather that we have in South Florida, and having that tropical breeze helped us to navigate through the summertime and into the fall and winter, and really be poised during the winter months to do, outside events and make sure that we were really being strategic about them and making them impactful for both the visitors, our residents, and our business community.
And you brought up a really good point that we don't hear that often. Events inform people. And could you give us an example? Well, I guess we're going to ask this question too. What was the most unique thing you did in 2020 or doing now to make the DDA's event successful and stay relevant during the pandemic? But if you could also give an example of how events do help inform people, especially in perilous times like we just went through last year.
Well, I think for 2020 and into 2021, as we all had to learn new safety procedures, safety guidelines, safety requirements, that became a lot of the information that we were sharing as part of these events and creating opportunities. I'll give an example. Back in August, we changed our restaurant week to restaurant month and added an outside dining component in a park, and added it completely with safety procedures and protocols in place around that. But it also, at the time, the emergency order allowed people to take alcohol out. And not a lot of people really realized that or understood what was around that, where they could pick up alcohol beverages and take it somewhere and consume it. And we were able to utilize our event to inform that part of a new way of dining, if you will, patronizing our businesses, but also creating an environment where they could be spread out and still be engaged. So we added some trivia and bingo and a few fun things and components around that, creating a smaller event. Well, it wasn't a huge festival, but it provided an opportunity for people to feel a little bit more normal, safe at the same time, understand how things were happening around the community and in our city, as well as visitors coming into a city at a time that they weren't sure, maybe from another state or another location, even within our state, that had different rules and guidelines. So again, continuing to utilize that vehicle to share that message. And we continue to do that now as we move forward into our events, making sure that people really understand all the things around an event that are maybe nuances or new opportunities that they can learn more about, even if it's learning more about the community itself, just the place, the neighborhood that they're in, or the businesses that are around it, or where to park even. Those are the things that we try to do in any type of event that we have, just making sure that that information component is there. But it is something, as we, also went virtual on a lot of our programming too, as many did, taking and creating a virtual art walk, or also doing virtual culinary events as part of our restaurant month, or virtual just sidewalk sales, having sidewalk sales or sidewalk events, celebrations, or even as we did our fashion week in February, we did some virtual components around that as well. So that is a new opportunity around events, and something to look at as we go forward in the future.
All excellent points, especially the messaging. And then you just mentioned adding one more layer of messaging when people are coming in from other areas of the state, country, even world. Their rules are different wherever you are. So that messaging is so important to where people feel comfortable, they know what to expect, and they know how they should interact with their surroundings when in your city. Very good point for those members who are watching today's show. Sorry.
Thank you for that. No, I think that is important. That is something that we were watching and learning from other cities too. And just part of our role as a DDA, we interact with a lot of organizations around the country. And it was vital during this time, learning, because everybody's dealing with different times of what the impact of the coronavirus was and what their protocols were. Some were reopening sooner, some were locked down more than others. Just hearing how they were rolling out and Halloween, creating Halloween festival, what were they doing for that, and what were they going to do for the holidays. And so learning from different people and trying to implement what we could do here at the time of where our state was in those moments. It's really, really helpful. So
very helpful. And yeah, I just, on this side note, I was just speaking with an agent in California yesterday. Today's June 16th. Yesterday, California was just finally reopening. So that gives a good picture of the disparity between the different areas of the country, how rules were just vastly different, and how important it was to communicate during this entire process. I don't know if it's a process, an entire pandemic, we'll say. Which, speaking of the pandemic, forced every planning professional to re-examine their entire rule book for how effective events are produced. What one new idea that you or your team came up with can you share with your fellow FFEA members as a best practice going forward?
So there's several, but I think one that we learned, as we will continue to do, is really around the safety and safety measures. Similar to when there were, there's natural disasters, or the active shooters, or any other those types of unfortunate incidents that happen, that force us all as event professionals to look at things differently, and how we create safety measures around our outside events or indoor events, and just really taking those guidelines and making sure that they're included as a standard now as part of our event policy and as part of our event planning methods, that we have a proper amount of hand sanitizer placed in locations, making sure that people know we have enough restrooms, we have enough ways for people to make sure that they're keeping keeping themselves clean, that our cleaning process and protocols for dining events, or even just areas where people are sharing tables, or in ways that germs can be passed. So we're looking at germs differently. So I think that was a big aha moment, just as for us, because that's something that we almost take a little bit for granted as we're going and creating these programs. Before, we do the Savor the Avenue event every year, and have been. We just were able to do it this year in April 2021, and added extra cleaning stations and extra cleaning procedures as part of that with our restaurant community. We still were in a mask mandate at the time, so we had masks happen, we gave out masks, and masks were required within the footprint, as well as we gave everyone a lanyard with a hand sanitizer attached to it. So those things we will, continue to implement as we, move forward in this coming year and in our other programs. And I think the virtual component will also stay at some point. That was a really a unique way for us to make sure that we're creating an event that's accessible for all, and being able to be open to those that want to be here, but couldn't attend. So it's been a nice way for us to also reach a new audience.
And you made me think of something funny there when you talked about germs. Germs are the one event attendee that are not welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Some more signage there for you. Laura, were you able to retain all of your staff throughout the pandemic?
I was, yes.
Good.
So the DDA was able to do that. Actually, I think we worked harder this year than ever. Just
a lot.
Keeping us, really taking on some new roles in some respects too. So we were very fortunate to be able to do that. And it is very important for our organization to continue to be the boots on the ground and stay entrenched into the community. So yes, I was.
Good, excellent. You mentioned already that you have implemented several virtual events. So can you give us a short overview of what your current event portfolio looks like going forward? You said you're going to keep some, so maybe a balance. How many live versus virtual, or have you added some hybrid components to any of the events in your future plans for this year or next?
Sure. So we started with virtual only in our art walk. We do a monthly art walk event, and went into a hybrid, and we'll continue to go into a hybrid with that program as we move forward. In February, we did our Fashion Week event in a smaller scale, but we did live stream that as well. So created a virtual ticketed event for that. But as we move forward into the remainder of our fiscal year and going into next year planning, majority of our events will be in person. However, we'll probably keep our art walk as a hybrid event, and looking to potentially live stream our fashion events as we go forward into February next year. So I think for the most part, our event portfolio, we are looking this year to bring in some other outdoor community style events between art and music components, but more in a smaller scale. So I think that's another thing that, I didn't mention before, but as we, capacities and spreading things out and utilizing space in a different way has also been something that we have really learned how to do, somewhat before the pandemic, but really taking a different look at it now. Parking garages to different areas within the downtown, whether it's open, vacant lot space, incorporating that into a street closure type event, but making, spreading them out throughout our district versus utilizing, cramming everybody into one location is really how we're planning our year, is, taking these events, and while it might have the same components to it, but hold it in a different location throughout the district. So, but again, looking at space in a different way. We just recently were able to do a celebration event for our 50th anniversary in the one of our parking decks downtown, parking garage, and just took that space and created a beautiful event celebration with production, decor, and restaurants, and everyone just wowed everybody and transformed the space into something that no one would have ever thought to look at it that way. So it's being a little bit more creative and creating unique experiences for people.
And that, believe it or not, has been an overarching theme with almost everybody I've talked to. They've looked at space in their city that they never used before and have turned it into usable space that they most likely will continue using in the future because they realized how well it works. It might be even easier or better suited than space that they had been using as legacy for years. So this has really just encouraged all of us professionals to rethink in general how we do things, and I think it's made us all better.
Yes, I agree, and definitely has, and it has, our city partners. We work, especially as a downtown development authority organization. We work in lockstep with our city partners, and we have an amazing city staff that has been doing. Our city's been doing special events for ever, it seems, to really, and within their best venue, which is our downtown, but working with them to look at spaces differently and help implement some of these new safety procedures. And with we have to add additional fire staff and the fire department and the police department, just for that safety reasons. So just looking at how we work, more collaboratively together and implementing some of these new processes.
And that leads us just perfectly into our conclusion. We've talked about it here. We're optimistic for a bright future in the world of events. Even though 2020 was tough. And when you look back at where you were in 2019 to where you are now, it can be overwhelming. But we do like to end all of our discussions on a high note, and we're asking you to provide some concluding remarks that leave our audience with some great hope for the future.
Well, I am very optimistic. I think we as Delray Beach, we are known for our special events, and as the most fun small town in America, we were awarded back in 2012. So we're looking forward to regaining that momentum and really regaining that interaction with our community. That has been something that we hold on to very much, as it is not only just our visitors that come in to discover our town with a special event. It's those people that live here, that enjoy, that feeling of camaraderie and networking and just, socializing. We're very sociable here, and we are, excited to see now, our events come back and that feeling come back and that emotion, and know that it will. We really look forward to the holidays, and as we go into summer and into the fall, just that word special and special events and that feeling of it really being a special time for everybody. So we are really optimistic, and we know that as we work together, we will all make this a much brighter and happier 2021 and into 2022 as we go forward. So we're poised, I think, to do really great things as a state, as a city. I'm really excited to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura, so much for the outstanding work that you are doing in Delray Beach and for sharing your story and insights with the FFEA community today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. On behalf of the Florida Festivals and Events Association, we thank you, our audience, for your time and hope you enjoyed today's discussion.